a collection of Bermuda's mystery roses, and it is from FSC's gardens that much of the US stock of those roses has been propagated. He has also worked closely with molecular biologist Dr. Nancy Morvillo, researching the relationship of various roses, especially the older noises with DNA analysis. He serves as a trustee of the Heritage Rose Foundation and has served as the American Rose Society's committees on rose registrations and rose classifications and the Old Garden Rose Committee. He is also active in the Central Florida Heritage Rose Society. He was named in 2013 as Great Rosarian of the World. Dr. Malcom's topic is roses for the hot climates. Roses for hot climates from a Florida perspective. I invite Dr. Malcom for his presentation.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. I work and live in Central Florida. That's the red dot over there on the bottom right corner, in case you're not familiar with Florida and U.S. Geography. It's a subtropical area. It is not as hot as some parts of the world. Certainly those of you from the Delhi area are going to say, oh, it's not so hot because you get hotter in the summer. But it is a climate that is warm enough to stress the roses for much of the year. I would also like to say that I don't want you to think that I think you should grow your roses the same way I grow mine. I think in each part of the world there are things that you know locally that really work for you. And so, on the other hand, I always find it useful to find out how someone from somewhere else grows their roses. I can sometimes get some good ideas from that. So hopefully that's what we can accomplish today. Lakeland, Florida is very wet and humid May to September. Daytime highs will be consistently 35 to 37, sometimes a little higher, but we almost never reach 40. Nighttime temperatures will be in the mid to upper 20s, and I think that's more important than the daytime high for stress on the road. They really need to cool off at night, and they just don't. We are somewhat drier and cooler in the rest of the year. Our very coldest nights ever will be in the 0 range. We haven't had that happen in at least 5 years. Mostly we get daytime highs in the upper 20s and nights 15 to 18 this time of year. We get about 155 centimeters of rain, most of that in the summer. We have very sandy, poor soils. We are on ancient beach sand, and so we have nematode worms in our soil, which are also a challenge. I teach at a small private college, Florida Southern. We offer a bachelor's degree in horticulture, and we teach mostly citrus, but because of my interest in roses, we also do roses. Some of the challenges we have, you've already heard about today from other speakers. Black spot is a major problem for us. So is powdery mildew for a short period of time in the winter. We don't usually see it in the summer. A major threat that we've had recently is chili thrips, the insect there at the bottom left. Until this arrived, which was about 5 years ago, we could grow really beautiful roses with relatively little trouble. The chili thrips has changed that. It really prevents organic or natural production. We have to use insecticides regularly, and even then, there are some varieties that are just difficult to maintain. As it was mentioned, we have a heat therapy program for rose mosaic virus disease. The University of California at Davis has a large program to deal with that on modern exhibition and commercial cut flower varieties, but no one was working on the antique or heritage varieties. So we started that program, and that's been going on for about 30 years. On the campus, we have 2 gardens. This is the smaller one, the Jenkins Rose Garden with 60 plants and 9 varieties. And then the big garden is Rootstocks garden, which has about 300 plants and more than 200 varieties. This is when the garden was quite young. Here it is now. So we beautify the campus with these gardens, but they serve then as a source of propagated material for the nursery industry of virus certified and index plants. That's really their purpose. Fortuniana is an old hybrid of Rosa laterata by Rosa Banksy. It was brought from China. It was first used early in the 20th century in Western Australia, and then tried in Florida shortly after that. And it is highly tolerant of heat, sandy soils, soil-borne diseases, and nematodes. And it really has changed our ability to grow roses. So if you are in a warm area with very sandy soils, you might want to consider it. We grow a lot of roses now that we could not grow on their own roots or on another rootstock. They do very well in Virginia. It often produces a much larger plant with more flowers than an own root plant of the same variety would, or grafted on another rootstock. One of the disadvantages of Fortuniana is it is a picky thing to root from a cutting, so you almost have to have an intermittent mist system. But under those conditions, we can root it at 100% of them. This is Mr. Veraragat's little seed growing in our garden, and what you see here are two plants on the left that, is this a little pointer? Maybe not. These two plants right here are on their own roots. These four plants are on Fortuniana. They are exactly the same age. They were pruned to the same height each spring, and every year they do that. Those two plants on the left are perfectly healthy, but the Fortuniana root plants are twice as large and make more than twice as many flowers. So that's one of the reasons I'm a believer in our climate. Certain groups of roses have not done well for us, particularly the old European types that need a cold winter. Sometimes those plants grow very well, but they seldom ever make flowers. So this is a list of some of the things that really have not done well for us. Even some of the modern hybrids that are generally once flowering in other parts of the world seldom or never flower for us. On the other hand, we've had some real successes. Among the species and near species, Rosa palustris is native in our area and is perfectly adapted. But also, Damascena bifera, Rosa roxburghii, Rosa laterata, those are great roses for us. They tend to be disease resistant, they flower well. Laterata is once flowering, but the others repeat well for us. Rosa moschata has become kind of a specialization of ours. I think we have a plant of just about every accession of it ever found on the earth. And it comes in three types. It's got a single, a double, and a very double type. And for us, it flowers pretty much year-round, and we have great rose. The rugosas, very cold-hardy roses from Japan and China that don't do well at all in their own roots for us are excellent on Fortuniana. And then, of course, there are those roses that are just well adapted to our type of climate. So the China roses are excellent, some of the best. And we grow quite a lot of them. Some of them grow quite large. The Catalyst up there at the top is probably 2.5 meters tall by maybe 4 or 5 across. It's huge. But China generally are excellent for us. The tea roses also are wonderful roses in our climate. I do prefer to graft them, even though some of them do quite well on their own roots. And as you can see in the top center there, that's this is the arcant. They can become quite large. That plant would be a lot wider if we hadn't pruned it, just so you could get through walkways. Noisettes and tea noisettes, of course, the noisettes originated in South Carolina, so that's a hot, humid plant like ours. There's Chinese pink cluster on the left, the first noisette, and then blush noisette. They do very well for us. Some of them are not completely disease resistant, but they tend to do all right anyway. And then the tea noisettes, Propagation and Marchanel are two of the real favorites. Marchanel is one that's difficult in a lot of climates for us. Virginia, though, it absolutely, it's the most vigorous rose I've ever grown. Some of the polyanthus do well, not all of them, but particularly Cecile Brunner and its sports do exceptionally well for us and will live for generations on their own roots in our climate. Of the hybrid perpetuals and damask perpetuals, some of them are all right if they're inherently frequent flowering. We do have to spray it for black spot. And they're all been almost always very much improved by drafting them to Virginia. So some of our success stories there with them that do very well for us. You'll notice on a lot of these things, especially those of you from colder climates, they look different when we grow them. They tend to have fewer petals, the flowers are smaller, and that's because of the heat. Of the bourbons, only the very reliable repeat flowering types do well. Certainly the Souvenir de la Maison group and its sports are excellent. And then as was mentioned, Maggie, this is a real mystery rose. It has been for a long time thought of as a bourbon. It's known here in India as Cappadonna Red, in Bermuda as the Pacific Rose, in the US as Maggie. I've also seen it on travels in Myanmar and Bangladesh, and people just said, oh, that's the pink rose that grows here. They didn't have a name for it. But it seems to show up in warm climates throughout the world. No one seems to know the exact original name, so it's an interesting mystery. Some of the ideas of what it might be, some Gachyn hybrids from the early 1900s, or it may be an ancient Chinese cultivar, which would mean it predates that class that we call bourbons, and so in that case, who knows what it is, but it's a great rose. This is Maggie growing in our garden, always in bloom like that. It's disease resistant. It's just one of the most carefree roses I've ever grown. Modern hybrids, then, we often have to spray those foliage diseases, so we can grow hybrid teas and portobellos. Most of them are just incredibly better for us in Virginia, and really have to be in Virginia to live more than 2 or 3 years. We tend to grow the older classic hybrid teas rather than the newest ones, because as a heat therapy agency where our goal is to send out propagating material to the nursery industry, I really don't have the time or the interest in dealing with patent protection or patent rights, and so I simply don't grow patented roses. They do well in our area, but we don't grow them. And then modern shrubs, Belinda's Dream on the top was bred in Texas, hybrid tea form, but just amazingly disease resistant. Graham Thomas on the right is an example of one of David Austin's roses. Austin's roses are odd in the sense that if we graft them for Virginia, they tend to make absolutely immense bushes that make almost no flowers. So we tend to grow them on their own roots or graft them to something else. And then at the bottom is Colonial Days. That was bred in Florida by a friend of mine using some Austin genetics in the background, but it's much better adapted to our area and flowers continuously. We have some special collections, as was mentioned. We have the Bermuda Mystery Roses. Bermuda, if you're not familiar with where that is, it's a collection of small islands about not quite 1,000 miles east of the United States coast in the Atlantic. They grow mostly Chinese teas, a few bourbons. And the things that we call their mystery roses are roses that grow there, but nobody really knows the original name. They may have been historic roses brought there and they've forgotten. They may be seedlings that occurred in Bermuda. We don't know. They tend to be highly disease resistant and tolerant of poor soils, and so for us, they do very well. So we have Emmy Gray on the top left there. That's a China. Trinity is a tea. Bermuda Kathleen may be a Noisette. We're not sure. And then on the bottom, St. David's and Belfield are Chinas. And there is some thought there, as you probably know, there are candidates for the real Slater's Crimson China all over the world, and everybody is quite sure their own is the right one. So hope no Bermudians are here today, but I won't say that's definitely Slater's Crimson. I'll say it might be. That's as good as I can do with it. Smith's Parish is one of theirs that may be historically important. It is Fortune's 5-color rose, which comes in all of these different color types. We've also, in the last 10 or 15 years, trialed some of the roses of India's own MS Garden. Here we have Biru and Girija with Pat Shanley, former president of the American Rose Society, in my garden in front of Maggie. And those roses, which many of them have the Indian form of Rosa gigantea or Rosa tenaphila in them, that's interesting genetics, which may give them better heat tolerance, better humidity tolerance, wet soil tolerance, those sorts of things. So we've been trialing a good number of those. I think we have 20 of them right now in the collection, and several of them have proven to be quite good for us. This is Coffee Country, which on a cool day is decidedly coffee with milk in it brown, very nice rose. Helga's Quest, and in honor of Helga Bichette, beautiful rose that flowers constantly for us. I was greatly honored when this rose was named for me. On a cool day, it's kind of, it can be much more brown than the one you see on the right. On a warm day, it's a beautiful pink, so it's quite variable. Emina, brilliantly colored and extremely disease resistant. And then Faith Whittlesey, that I showed you in the grafting thing, is just a great hedge rose for us. So we're very happy with those roses and want to try more of them. Let me tell you a bit about how we grow our roses. We produce all of our own roses in the college's nursery. As I said, we're an undergraduate teaching institution, so we teach the basics of rooting cuttings and grafting, those sorts of things. And so the students do these as lab projects. To root cuttings, we take the leaves off the bottom. As I said, for tuning out, it really has to be rooted in a mist. We tend to wound the base of the cutting. We tend to dip it in a rooting hormone of some sort, and then pot it up and it goes in this bed. For us, that's easy. We don't mind doing that. If you were a nursery producing hundreds of thousands of these per year, that becomes a real labor issue. This is our mist bed. It has sliding shower doors in front, an open roof. It is watered by, this is a solenoid valve, electric solenoid valve. That's the mist nozzle. It's totally open to the sky, so it gets full sun during the middle of the day, but it stays cool because of the mist. It's operated on 2 clocks. The one on the right turns the system on right after sunrise and back off again as it's getting dark in the evening. The clock on the left puts out about an 8 to 10 second spray of mist every 5 minutes throughout the daylight hours. And it does a very good job. We can get well over 95% rooting of many varieties. Eventually you see roots coming out the bottom like that, and we know it's time to take them out of the mist. As I said, most of our roses are grafted. We tend to use one of 2 methods. One of these is cleft grafting, and Florida nurseries almost always use this method. So that's the scion on the left and the rootstock on the right. You cut a very sharp wedge into the scion. You cut a slit in the top of the rootstock, fit them together, tape that shut very tightly with plastic tape, and then we wound the base and treat that just like an unrooted cutting. It goes into the mist as any other cutting would, and it forms its roots and heals the graft at the same time. So these are in the mist. We'll take them out after 6 to 8 weeks as a finished grafted plant. We also do chip budding. Chip budding involves taking an already rooted Virginia plant, cutting a patch of bark out of the side of the stem, and then choosing a bud from the scion we want to use, make a chip of about the same size, and then fit those together. As you may know, a lot of nurseries around the world do T-budding, where they cut a cut that looks like a capital letter T, and then slip the bud behind the bark. That doesn't work very well for tuning out because it tends to shred when you try to do that. So chip budding works much better. Seal that up, and then 3 weeks later we unwrap it, and this one is probably 2 weeks after that, starting out from the bud. These are in our greenhouses. Those are in approximately 4-liter pots, and they'll go from that into the garden once they become established. As I said, students tend to do a lot of work for us, so this is a lab. They were repotting into some unusually large pots. We don't normally go into pots that large. Planting in the garden, because we have very sandy soils, we tend to dig a large hole about 50 by 50 centimeters, and we fill that in with organic compost. We add some nutrients, no fast-acting nutrients, but slow-release materials at that time, and we then flood. I don't actually measure 15 to 20 liters of water. I just add water until the whole planting hole is underwater on the pond, and then we plant the plant in that water to get rid of any air bubbles. Virginia has one problem in that it makes a very physically weak root system. You have to stake the plant up throughout its life, or it'll just fall over. So, and then we use a micro sprinkler irrigation system to irrigate the bed, and then we cover it with a mulch. We usually use piping and straw. So this is in our big garden on the day we were planting. You can see our very sandy soil there and how we replaced a lot of that with the organic potting material. That's the straw mulch that we use. Pruning, we tend to do a 1 hard pruning per year. We do get some cool weather this time of year. This year we'll be pruning in late February. And we tend to cut the plants back much farther than most of the rose literature says you should, simply because they become so large for us. Students, as well as volunteers from local rose societies and garden clubs come and help. And at other times of the year, we just do a light deadheading or enough pruning to keep them out of the walkways. But the big pruning is always in late winter, early spring. So this was a volunteer group that showed up to help us at one point. And here we are, pruning gardens. You can see there how short we make them. They're less than half what the size they were originally. Some of them only a third as large. And then those will be in full bloom again by mid-April. And we use this as a teaching lab also. The students, I usually pair them up with I apprentice them to a master rosarian and they go out and learn how to grow rosebush. For fertilizers, we have very poor soils, and so we do tend to fertilize very heavily. We use a slow release 16-8-12, that's 16% nitrogen, 8% phosphorus, 12% potassium. In the spring, plus some activated sewage sludge and magnesium sulfate. And then late summer or early autumn, we supplement that with some more sludge, some sulfate of potash and magnesium. And that allows us to grow really healthy rose. Again, student labor to do that. We do spray our gardens for fungus diseases. We grow some very black spot susceptible varieties, and so there's a spray service that comes in once a week and sprays. And then we'll add an insecticide for chili thrips when that's a problem. We tend to do that just by observing the garden, and if we see chili thrips damage happening, we will. That is the end of my talk. Thank you very much.